Have you ever watched your life crumble in slow motion, not because you were weak, but because you wanted to see how far betrayal would go before it destroyed itself? That day, as I stood in the bridal studio watching her, my fiancé's secret lover, twirl in my wedding gown, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I smiled, because I already knew. Her little performance would be the last scene of their story, and the first chapter of my revenge. The scent of roses and silk drifted through the air as I walked into the boutique, my heart fluttering with quiet excitement. It was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, the day I finally tried on the gown I had dreamed about since childhood. Every stitch of that dress had a piece of my soul sewn into it. I had designed it myself, a perfect fusion of elegance and emotion, the symbol of my love for Ethan. But the moment I stepped inside, something in the air shifted. The laughter that echoed through the room wasn't mine. There she was, Valerie. She stood on the pedestal, a perfect figure in white satin, her reflection shimmering under the soft golden lights. The gown flowed around her like liquid ivory, hugging her curves in a way that should have made me proud, except it wasn't her gown. It was mine. For a moment, I thought I was dreaming. My breath caught in my throat. The designer, a kind woman with silver hair and glasses, turned to greet me, completely unaware of the explosion she had just set off. "Miss Amara, you're here early," she said cheerfully. "Ms. Valerie insisted on trying the gown for you. She said you were too busy to come." I blinked, my mind processing every word slowly, painfully. Ms. Valerie. The name felt heavy, poisonous. Valerie was Ethan's colleague, the woman he swore was just a friend, the one who called at midnight for work emergencies. I had always felt something in her tone when she said his name, a quiet possessiveness disguised as politeness. But I had buried my doubts for love. And now, there she was, wearing my dream, her lips curved into a satisfied smile. "Oh, Amara," she exclaimed, pretending surprise as if she hadn't expected me. "I didn't know you'd be here so soon. I just wanted to see how it looked in person. It's stunning." My blood went cold, but my smile stayed warm. Years of practicing grace had trained me well. "It is," I said softly. "Almost too stunning to be worn by someone else." Her smile twitched, and she stepped down from the pedestal, holding the train delicately between her fingers. "I didn't mean any harm," she said lightly. "It's just a dress, right?" I tilted my head, my voice calm but laced with steel. "No, Valerie, it's not just a dress. It's a promise. And promises aren't meant to be borrowed." Her eyes flashed with something cruel. "Maybe you're overreacting. Ethan said you were sensitive." The sound of his name on her tongue made my stomach twist. Before I could reply, the door opened behind me. Ethan walked in, holding his phone, his suit slightly wrinkled as if he'd been rushing. His eyes widened the moment he saw us, me at the door, Valerie in my gown. "Amara, you're early," he said, his voice too quick, too controlled. "And you're late," I replied, keeping my voice even. He tried to laugh it off. "There's an explanation for this." "Then go on," I said, crossing my arms. He looked at Valerie, who was suddenly silent, her confidence dimming. "Valerie just wanted to check the fitting for you. She said she has a similar body type. So she decided to wear my wedding gown." I interrupted. "Interesting kind of help, don't you think?" Valerie lifted her chin. "You're acting like it's a crime. It's just a dress, Amara. If it means that much to you, I'll take it off." I took a step closer, my heels echoing sharply against the marble floor. "Do that, because while you were busy trying it on, you forgot one thing, that gown wasn't made for you. And neither was he." The silence that followed was suffocating. The designer, realizing the tension, quickly excused herself, leaving us alone. Ethan rubbed his temples. "Amara, please, don't make this bigger than it is." I almost laughed. "Oh, Ethan, you've already made it bigger than it ever needed to be." He looked at me, frustration breaking through his mask. "Why are you always so dramatic?" Valerie was just. "I'm not interested in hearing excuses," I said. "Because I already know the truth." He froze. Valerie's face drained of color. I slipped my hand into my purse and pulled out a thin folder, documents, screenshots, and signed designs. "Do you remember when I showed you my sketches for the Aurora collection?" I asked softly. "The designs I created long before we met." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Of course I do. Then you'll also remember the night you told me you'd help me refine them, I said, my voice trembling with emotion I could barely control. Except, instead of refining them, you stole them. You took my sketches, changed the signatures, and presented them as yours under Eterna design. Valerie looked at him sharply. You said those were yours. Ethan's face turned pale. Amara, listen. No, I cut him off, my tone sharp enough to slice the air. I've listened for too long. I watched you build your company on my work. I let you lie to me, to everyone, while you pretended to be the genius behind something you didn't even understand. His voice broke into a whisper. You can't prove that. I already did, I said, holding his gaze. Every email, every file transfer, every timestamp. The board received it this morning. You'll find out tonight. Valerie stepped back, her hands trembling. What are you talking about? Oh, didn't he tell you? I asked with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. There's a gala tonight. Investors, press, everyone from the industry will be there. It's supposed to be Ethan's night, the night he announces his new partnership. And I made sure everyone will see exactly who he is before that happens. Ethan's voice cracked. Amara, don't do this. You'll ruin everything. I'm not ruining anything, I said quietly. I'm simply showing the truth. You did the ruining long ago. For a moment, the room felt frozen. Valerie's face turned pale, her hands gripping the edge of the gown. You're insane, she hissed. You can't humiliate us like that. I walked toward the door, pausing just long enough to look back at her. Us, I repeated softly. There is no us, Valerie. There's you, a thief who thought she could replace me. And him, a coward who thought I'd stay silent. But silence isn't the same as weakness. The last thing I saw before leaving was Valerie standing on the pedestal again, her expression twisted between fear and fury, and Ethan staring at the folder in his hands, the beginning of his unraveling. As I stepped outside, the sun hit my face, warm and freeing. I took a deep breath, feeling the first wave of peace I'd felt in months. I had been the quiet bride to be once, believing love would protect me. But now, I was something else entirely, a woman who had stopped waiting for apologies and started writing her own ending. And tonight, when the lights of the gala burned bright, they would finally see what betrayal looked like when it wore a wedding gown that didn't belong to it. The night of the gala glimmered with golden lights, laughter, and 1,000 lies waiting to unravel. People called it the event of the year, the celebration of Ethan Blake's genius, the man who had supposedly revolutionized modern fashion. Cameras flashed as limousines pulled up one after another, spilling out models, investors, and designers dressed like royalty. And among them, he arrived, in his black tuxedo, hand in hand with the woman who had worn my wedding gown earlier that day. Valerie. If only they knew that the spotlight they were stepping into was about to scorch them both. I stood at the top of the staircase, hidden among the crowd, watching them through the reflection of the grand chandelier. My heart didn't race anymore. It was steady, calm, like the silence before thunder. I could hear the whispers ripple through the hall. People were already noticing the gown Valerie wore. The same one she had stolen moments of pride in that morning. My gown. She had dared to wear it again, convinced it was her crown. She smiled at the cameras, posing like a star, while Ethan's arm tightened around her waist. Smile, Val, he whispered, loud enough for me to read his lips. Tonight's ours. I almost pitied them, almost. Because the higher they climbed, the harder the fall would be. The ballroom's lights dimmed as the event began. The stage was draped in white silk, the company's logo shining behind it. Ethan walked up, confident and smooth, thanking everyone for coming. Applause filled the air. He was in his element, charming as always. He spoke about vision, creativity, partnership, the same words he once used to seduce me into trusting him. I watched from a distance, sipping champagne, waiting for the cue I had arranged. Behind the curtains, the technical team I'd quietly hired earlier that day was ready. The USB drive I'd sent to the event organizers, disguised as a tribute video, was about to play. Ethan's speech reached its peak. Innovation, he said, smiling into the lights, is born from passion and collaboration. Tonight, I dedicate our success to those who believed in us from the start. And then the screen behind him flickered. The crowd murmured. The slideshow of company photos vanished, replaced by a single white page. Slowly, handwriting appeared across it, sketches, intricate and detailed, the signature at the corner crystal clear, Amara Dellon. Ethan froze. His voice faltered, eyes darting toward the technician's booth. That's not supposed to be there. But the video continued. It showed photos of my notebooks, the designs he had stolen, the same lines and details he'd built his empire on. Each image shifted to screenshots of emails, from him to Valerie, laughing about how easily I had trusted him. His voice echoed in a recorded audio clip, "She'll never know, Val. She's too kind for this world." The room fell silent. Every whisper, every breath vanished into stillness. Then gasps filled the air. Journalists leaned forward, snapping photos, investors exchanged glances of disbelief. The screen kept rolling, revealing my original design timestamps, my trademark applications, everything they needed to see. And finally, my voice filled the hall. Calm, controlled, deadly. "Good evening," the recording said. "I'm Amara Dellin, the designer whose work built Eterna Design. Tonight, you'll see not what was created, but what was stolen. Every masterpiece on this screen was taken from me, rebranded under another name. The truth, like fashion, cannot be tailored forever. Eventually, the seams tear." When the lights came back on, all eyes turned to Ethan and Valerie. The silence was heavier than any accusation. Valerie's face had gone pale, her hands trembling as she looked around. Ethan tried to speak, but the microphone squealed, betraying his panic. "This is a mistake," he shouted. "It's been altered." But the damage was done. Investors were already rising from their tables, murmuring words like, fraud, lawsuit, termination. Cameras flashed relentlessly. I watched him crumble under the weight of his own lies. Valerie took a shaky step back, her once confident posture collapsing into fear. "You told me this was yours," she hissed under her breath. He turned on her, voice low and desperate. "You were supposed to support me, not make it worse." Their argument unfolded in whispers that echoed louder than shouts. The very people who once praised them now watched with pity and disgust. And as the chaos unraveled, I stepped out from the crowd. People turned as I walked toward the stage. I didn't hurry. Every step was deliberate. My black gown shimmered under the light, the opposite of the white gown Valerie had stolen. She looked at me as if she'd seen a ghost. Ethan's face drained of color completely. "Amara," he stammered, reaching out. "Please, let me explain." I stopped a few feet away. "You've explained enough. The world heard you." His voice cracked. "You don't understand what this will do." "Oh, I do," I said quietly. "You took my work, my trust, and tried to bury me under your success. I gave you love, and you gave me theft. So now, I'm giving you truth. That seems fair." Valerie tried to interrupt, but I turned to her. "You wanted attention, didn't you, Valerie? You got it. They'll remember you too, not as a muse, but as an accomplice." She flinched as the reporters swarmed closer. Ethan's shoulders slumped. "Amara, please, I was wrong, but I can fix this. We can fix this. You still love me, don't you?" For a brief second, I saw the man I had once adored, the one who made me believe in dreams, in partnership, in forever. But that version of him had died long before tonight. I said softly. But love doesn't survive betrayal. It turns into something colder, something stronger. I turned away, and as I did, the audience began to applaud. Not for Ethan, for me, the woman who had turned humiliation into power. The woman who refused to stay silent. Ethan's company crumbled in the following weeks. Investors pulled out, lawsuits piled up, and within a month, Eterna Design filed for bankruptcy. Valerie disappeared from the industry, her reputation scorched by scandal. Ethan tried to apologize, letters, calls, even visits, but I never answered. Some doors, once closed, should stay locked forever. Months later, I stood on another stage, in another gown, this one new, mine in every sense. My designs, my name, my company. Dellin Atelier. The same press that once celebrated Ethan now surrounded me, eager to hear my story. "Miss Dellin," a reporter asked, "how did it feel to expose the man who betrayed you?" I smiled, not bitterly, but with quiet peace. "It didn't feel like revenge," I said. "It felt like truth. And truth always wins, you just have to give it time." When the lights dimmed that night, and the applause faded, I walked out into the cool city air, my heels clicking against the pavement. I thought about the woman I'd been, the one who smiled through pain, who believed that silence would keep peace. But silence had been my cage. Speaking up had set me free. Some people build empires on lies. Others build them on ashes, and make them beautiful again. So if you ever find yourself betrayed, remember this: you don't need to destroy them with anger. Just let them destroy themselves with the truth. Because the truth, once unveiled, always fits perfectly, like a gown that was only ever meant for you.